Protesters took to the streets of Manhattan today, calling for the firing of the officers involved in the beating of upstate New York inmate Robert Brooks.
CBS News New York just learned Governor Hochul visited the Marcy Correctional Facility where Brooks was killed and announced some immediate changes. Alan Devlin has the video of the attack, and we want to warn you, it is disturbing to watch.
When we allow that to happen, we say that we're okay with the denigration and the devaluation of black life.
Calls for justice today in the shadow of Governor Kathy Hochul's office. Protesters marched, signs in hand, demanding action against the officer seen on body camera footage beating upstate New York inmate Robert Brooks.
Seeing a black brother like that, being beat like that, being lynched, that is disturbing.
The video released Friday of the brutal December 9th beating from inside the Marcy Correctional Facility shows officers repeatedly punching, kicking, and dragging handcuffed 43-year-old inmate Robert Brooks. Brooks died a day later.
The justification is not there. You can't hit a suspect that's handcuffed.
Former NYPD investigator Felipe Rodriguez says the video is shocking and there's no excuse for the officer's actions.
It's going to be very difficult for them to justify use of force. Anytime you use, every strike has to be justified. Any discharge of a firearm has to be justified. Otherwise, you know what, you did it incorrectly.
The series of 8 videos released to the public playing a pivotal part in the launching of an investigation by the New York Attorney General's office and calls from Governor Hochul for all 13 officers and a nurse connected to the beating to be terminated.
We will use every possible tool available to us to investigate this death thoroughly and swiftly.
Today, Governor Hochul visited Marcy Correctional Facility seeking answers in Brooks' death and immediately implemented new changes, including naming a new superintendent and expediting $400 million towards new cameras facility-wide. Today, as I stood in the room where Robert Brooks was killed, I was once again heartbroken by this unnecessary loss of life and further sickened to think of the actions of depraved individuals with no regard for human life, said Governor Hochul in a statement. CBS News New York has learned 3 of the 13 guards implicated in the savage beating of Robert Brooks have been accused in lawsuits of earlier attacks in New York prisons. All 14 Marcy staff members have currently been suspended without pay pending the investigation. There have been no formal charges brought against the officers yet. In Manhattan, Alan Devlin, CBS News, New York.
Well, an official cause of death for Brooks has not yet been determined. The autopsy results are still pending.
Welcome back to Breakdown Friday. Joseph Ward, Patrick Irvin, Professor Carl Tone Jones. We're going to do things a bit different today because we're breaking down this Robert Brooks murder that happened, as you can see, December 9th, 2024, not too long ago. Just learned about the story not too long ago. This is body cam footage from Sergeant Glenn Trombley. And this video doesn't have any audio, so we're going to be able to give our commentary while we watch the video, and then we're going to continue as we normally do, giving our commentary. But, you know, before we get into it, make sure after this, you go to FetLifeStation.com. Make sure you check it out, FetLifeStation.com. Check out Professor Carl Tone Jones, office hours with Professor Carl Tone Jones. If you didn't go to office hours in college, now your time to go. And he going to have way more information and substance for you, so check that out. Make sure you go to thepax.org to check out our collaboration as a whole from the information that we put on. And Pat has put a great deal of information on there. Make sure you check out ontheshoulders1.com. Make sure you like this video, comment, and subscribe. So let's get into it. This video starts where I believe they are bringing Robert Brooks into the detention facility, and Robert Brooks was also serving time for a crime that he committed, but dang. So here we go. And so this is when they first have him, they're hauling them in. And it looked like they already had them roughed him up already because he.
Damn.
You said they carried him, right?
Yeah. So what did he do?
What
are they accusing him of doing that initiated all of this?
Not sure what initiated this, but he's serving a 12-year sentence for assault.
So he's already been convicted?
Yes. Yes, he was already convicted. He's in the detention facility.
All right. So these are COs.
Yes. And it's 16 total. It was 16 people total, 15 officers and 1 nurse.
So this is the detention facility.
Yes. And as you can see, as they move inside, you're gonna be able to see that you're gonna see more of the facility, of the, I guess, the medical area of the detention facility. But you see, it don't look like the hospitals we go to.
No. And so they had him his arms up in restraint like that to prevent any sort of freedom of movement whatsoever. But I'm wondering why, like what happened to trigger that the need to detain in that manner.
And see, investigations are going on as of right now. And we do know none of the people involved have been arrested. And it just, whatever, this officer's camera keep going out. So they have the black spots. That's the officer's camera. But
well, I think it seems like the camera is in passive mode or action mode. So it only like activates when there's a certain amount of activity going on in front of it.
So just to let the viewers know, you can see they got it. Yeah.
Okay, so why okay, so then they're striking him repeatedly. Why? That's what the investigation is for.
Right. Why because the excessive force that they went through for this.
You can already see he's already been bludgeoned.
Right, and he's bloody.
So all right, so I saw some of the back. I saw this video before, which is why I had a little trepidation, because typically speaking, I don't really care for what I consider trauma.
Right.
It's just watching them, because I think one of the issues I have with it is more so watching, getting comfortable watching videos of us being tormented, tortured, and then eliminated, and the visualization of it, because after a while you see it enough, and we've seen it enough to the point where we become immune to it. We become desensitized to it, or it'll trigger us. And my biggest issue is not necessarily with the videos itself. It's the fact that this is no longer really about bringing awareness to when we see the videos plastered. And I know there are certain people, I know people on Facebook and Instagram that'll post it and for a reaction, not the reaction we're doing here, but for a reaction in regards to I don't know whether looking to trigger a response or whatever from the public.
Yeah.
Because it's, like I said before, it's no longer about awareness.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing right now is a man who is helpless. He's already in restraint. And I'm not sure what they're asking him. I'm sure for a fact stuff like this goes on in prisons. I know people. I was affiliated with Move here in Philadelphia. So I know when members of the Move 9 were released from jail, the stories they would tell about the things that would happen to them in jail and in prison. I've had family members who served time with them that can corroborate this story. So, the real questions that come from this is, and we have people who do advocacy for a situation like this. It just, I don't know, it stirs a lot of things up. And plus I'm empathic. So I internalize a lot of this stuff, and I'm one of those people that when I see things, I want to do something about it. And I'm not talking about the stuff that we can actually talk about doing something about it.
Right. Like, look at that. Look at that. Just jack that man up like it's nothing.
He's the smallest person in the room.
And helpless. He can't do anything to defend himself at this point. And they just he jacked him up by his collar with just one hand.
Yeah. Go ahead, Patty. See,
this is crazy, man. But now you're right. I mean, we don't need to get used to seeing this over and over and over and over. But the sad part is we already have. And that's what you're getting at. And that's what you're saying. That's what you're explaining. Like it's already been set, the path that we're consuming all of this content, and you know, because we talk about it like at least once a year where the media will sensationalize a death of a Black person, and then Black people go crazy. And you know, it depends on who get involved and how big it get. You have different people in the streets rioting, all these different things, tearing up stuff, whether it's in that neighborhood, other people neighborhood, people unnecessarily going to jail, all these different things. And then all of that just to come right back around the next year and do the same thing. Because as PC just stated, there's no real outcomes, because nobody really does what we really want to do. And the problem and the hindrance to that is we can't do that because we're not in a position to do that, because you have to have your stuff together and be organized and, you know, united to do those things. You know, those two like words, you know how Black people about those words, organization and unity, you know, we like to run from those words. But once again, this is a unfortunate case that has happened to a Black person. And the best thing that we can do is just cry out.
Well, yeah, because when we see it, right? And I was in New York a week or so after Alton Sterling was choked to death, and I was in Harlem. Matter of fact, we were in Harlem a lot. 131 is 131st and Lenox, and I spoke on that. And I spoke on the fact that we just sit here and let them and we let them do it. And this is why being a nationalist is so important, Black nationalism, because, and I don't really think people understand what it really means. People just think you just hoist the flag, red, black, and green and stuff. But to be a nationalist is to actually be a part of a nation. And when you're a nation, you can hold people accountable. When you're ruggedly, excuse me, when you're ruggedly individualistic as we are, you can't hold nobody accountable for doing stuff like this.
Right.
So, you know, you go back to the early 1920s, and there were lynchings of Italians in Louisiana. And America had to issue a declaration of an apology to Italy, because Italy was ready to go to war over the fact that some of their citizens were lynched in the South. So the government, American government, had to answer to that. We don't have anybody that we can make answer to this. And we appeal to the ones that are actually doing it. And most people are afraid. And see, like you had the situation in Dallas in 2000, I believe 2017 or 2016 with Micah Johnson. He responded in a way, right? He took on the entire Dallas Police Department and had them shook. Took down 5 police officers. And they had them cornered. They didn't even have the gumption or whatever to go after him. They sent a machine or robot, with an explosive to take him out. So incendiary device.
That was the father, right?
No. Michael Johnson was he was more so responding to all the police killings that occurred that summer.
Okay.
So that was the summer. That was right after Alton Sterling. Mike Brown, and you know, it was a few other murders, right?
Yeah.
And So I wasn't really prepared to talk about them. So the names are not coming to me.
That's all good, but you know, we know it was a host of other ones.
Right. So, we the bottom line is they don't. That was his response. And it shook up America enough that several people were investigated by the feds. I know that the feds went out because the guy said he liked hitting colors. So the feds went and investigated, and they questioned Tariq Nasheed about his affiliation with the guy.
Yeah.
Because the guy followed him on Twitter or something like that. Griff, I'm not even going to talk about what happened with Professor Griff, but they were waiting at his house too because he took a picture with the guy. The guy showed up in one of his lectures and took a picture with him, Micah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but what happened in that particular situation, people was afraid to mention his name.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. So here's a man who decided to take one for the team. He was triggered enough to take one for the team. And as we see here, right, because I stopped watching it because I don't, at this point, you know, it already looks like it's to the point where he's already deceased, or his body's in arrest right now.
Yeah, he can't. He's at a state right now where he can't really do anything. And I know a lot of the commentary around this was, well, first of all, the amount of people that was involved, also the amount of people that was around just watching it, and nobody really intervened to do anything. You see Buddy right here smiling and laughing.
Well, this is just another day at the office.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but it's you know, from my understanding, there are at least 6 body cam videos. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 body cam videos in total of the officers who was involved in this. I will put this link in the description. The CNN article is talking about in the beginning of the video. I keep missing it, but it's saying one of the officers appears to shove a white material in Brooks's mouth, and another holds Brooks by the throat. So that happened like toward the beginning of the video. And
why
then
taking his clothes off?
Good, right.
And he looks limp.
Yeah, he at this point he's totally incapacitated. He's limp. He can't do anything. Remember, he's already restrained. He's already handcuffed, and they've beaten him so bad right now. He's not fighting back. He's past the point of even thinking about fighting back, and so everything is past excessive.
Well, they started beating the man as soon as they got him in the room. I mean, it was off camera, but you could see the officer's hand pumping back and forth.
Right.
So, you know, for the last at least 10 minutes of the discussion we've been having, 10, 12 minutes of the discussion we've been having, the man has been basically getting beaten on the video, and there's no telling how much time is actually passing because of the blackouts.
Right.
But I don't, because this is like on a couple different levels for me, because one, it reminds me of a situation I went through in the military. And so, you know, I'm thinking about it on that level and having an experience that's not as brutal, clearly, but is in a similar nature, where I was the only black male in a room filled with white dudes, and I was having all of my rights violated and being brutalized.
Yeah.
So, but you're looking at it, and now he is aware and he is fighting back, and that's the response. So, you know, to anybody that says, okay, well, why isn't anybody doing anything? You say, well, why would they? And I don't want to hear the comment about human nature. No, this is human nature.
Yeah,
like
yeah. This is definitely
like
human nature.
This is the group has decided that an outsider is not to be treated the same way you treat other members of the group. And
Yeah.
so the group has agreed that this is the way we're going to treat them. This is human nature at its finest on public display. And until we learn to accept this part of human nature as a community, we're never going to be able to do anything different or move any way differently, because we're going to be looking at each and every individual in that room and saying, well, why didn't you do something, without understanding that at this point there are no individuals in that room. There's a group of people doing what groups of people do to an outsider.